Right, so this is video 3 of 4 of our 130 to 150 long task writing revision. If you haven't already checked out videos 1 and 2, I will link the playlist with all of the relevant writing videos at the very end of this video, so check that out after you've watched this. But today we are looking at the importance or popularity bullet point, and I think of all the 3 videos that we've done so far, this is the most important one. This is our structure grid, and this is where students struggle the most to give a good detailed answer that has original ideas. So this is where I think if you were only going to follow one of the structure guides, then for me it would be this one. And the importance or popularity, occasionally that's phrased as differences, comes up in every single 130 to 150 task. So you can be guaranteed that if you learn this in advance, it's going to be some really useful revision. So as per the last 2 videos, this is the order that we're going to go in. We'll start by looking at the question, then look at the key phrases that we need for the structure grid, a model answer, and then over to you for some independent writing that you can give me to give you some feedback on. So again, same question as before, and this week is ¿por qué es importante continuar estudiando? This could be porque es popular, sometimes las diferencias, but mostly it's importante or popular. Here, even though we may not be familiar with the grammar point, continuar estudiando, we should be able to translate it as why it is important to continue studying. And you don't need to worry about using this grammar point, etc. You will be able to just copy it as it is in the question, and we should, like I said, be able to identify what it means. So these are the key phrases that we're going to need for this structure grid. So pause the video now, try and match them up, or challenge yourself, don't do the mashup, just translate the boxes on the left-hand side into English and come back when you want the answers. Vale, las respuestas están aquí. He oído que, I have heard that. This is nice because it's the perfect tense, so you're getting in a past tense here, but you're not having to worry about conjugating and how to conjugate the perfect tense, you're just using it in a set phrase. Dos, es bastante popular, it's quite popular. Bastante is a less commonly used intensifier, so a good one to know and use yourself. Por un lado, on the one hand, por otro lado, on the other hand, and this is a really good set of connectives that at higher level you should definitely be trying to use. Hay quienes dicen que, some people say that. Again, this is one that you would use at A level actually, so it's quite nice and formal, really good for this question. I wouldn't really use it in the 80 to 90, but it works quite well here. Puedes, you can. Debes, you must. Tienes que, you have to. Quieres, you want. All of these follow by the infinitive, and note that. Remember, we've discussed before that if you're going to use nice language, you need to use it properly and grammatically correctly, so we must remember here that the infinitive comes after, which is just like the English. You can go. You wouldn't say you can, you go. You wouldn't say you must, I eat. Like, it's always, in English, you must plus infinitive. No cabe duda de que, we looked at this in the last video as well. There is no doubt that. Another one that I encourage my A-level students to use. Estoy de acuerdo. I agree. The spelling of acuerdo is always done quite horrifically. So again, if you're going to use it, please learn how to spell it properly. Se podría decir que. You could say that. Nice for a couple of reasons. You've got the conditional tense, podría, and you've got an impersonal verb putting se in front of it. Literally, like, one could say that. And finally, no estás de acuerdo? Do you not agree? And this is a question. It would be really nice in this question, 130, 150, at some point, if you use a rhetorical question. And this is the easiest way to do that. And this question will always be addressed to you now as you. In the past, it used to be formal, so you may have practiced questions where this is usted. That is not the case anymore. So you can always use these verb cases or verb endings are all you can, you must, you. Do you not agree? So it's absolutely fine to be using the you form of the verb. Okay, so once we've got those, then we move on to our example answer. There are quite a few steps here, but this is a really easy bullet point where you can give loads of good detail. So the steps are important. So the first step is rephrasing the question by just saying, I have heard that X is very popular. So here we go. He oído que continuar estudiando es bastante importante para tu futuro. Pause the video and come back when you've translated it. Vale, so this one is, I have heard that continuing studying is quite important for your future. Okay, you can add a bit more detail there if you want, but that starts us off nicely. Second step is give an argument against. So the argument I've gone for is, por un lado, hay quienes dicen que continuar estudiando en la universidad es una pérdida de tiempo y dinero. Pause and come back when you're ready for the answer. Okay, so this is, on the one hand, some people say that continuing to study at university is a waste of time and money. So you can see here that I've decided that I'm taking this question down the line of continuing to study, but I'm going to specify at university because it's going to make my argument a little bit easier. So I've made that decision here. I've introduced that idea here. And then the waste of time and money is a nice phrase, and it's one that fits this context. Step 3. Illustrating with an example. This is a really important part actually because most people will give the on the one hand, on the other hand, but using a modal verb and a relative clause can just increase the level of language that you're using and give some more original ideas. So for example, y que, and the ellipsis here is just because this sentence is continuing from the previous sentence. Y que es mejor si puedes empezar a trabajar para ganar dinero y experiencia. So my clause here is si, which is nice. And then puedes empezar was one of those key phrases. We looked at puedes plus infinitive. And we've got another para plus infinitive here, which we've seen in previous videos, a really nice grammar phrase to use. So pause and translate. Vale, so here we have, and that it's better if you can start to work to earn money and experience. So again, I'm giving good arguments. They're quite complex ideas, but the language is not complex, and that is deliberate. And obviously, if you know more fancy vocabulary and it fits, use it. But we want this to be accessible, and the idea that it's the structure grid is the thing you need to learn, and then you can fill it with things you already know. Very simple, next one. Sin embargo, yo no estoy de acuerdo. However, I disagree. Okay, and now this next step is extremely important because so far I have not answered the question. Why is it important to continue studying? Okay, all I've done at the minute is say why it's not important or why other people think it isn't important. So step 5 and 6 are the most important part of this whole answer. If you think I'm at risk of forgetting that, then swap them around and start with 5 and 6 and then do 2 and 3. And you would probably just skip point 4. And point 5 for me here is an argument in favor. A mi juicio, no cabe duda de que continuar estudiando en la universidad vale la pena. Okay, translate. In my judgment, there is no doubt that continuing to study at university is worth it. Okay, so we're using vale la pena. We've seen this in different tenses in previous videos. This is the present tense version of it, and it's really nice to use. And here now is my example, and I'm still remembering that actually, why is it important? This is the biggest chunk here, because I still haven't really answered that question. Si quieres tener un buen trabajo y quieres ganar mucho dinero, yo creo que debes estudiar en la universidad, porque es la mejor manera de aprender las habilidades necesarias. Además, es una oportunidad para ganar independencia. So it's quite meaty here, but again, fairly simple language. Beyond the la mejor manera de means the best way of, plus infinitive. So that's a really nice phrase to be using in a higher exam. And the rest, otherwise, it's all things we've seen. Quieres, debes, para, plus infinitive. So have a go at translating. So if you want to have a good job and you want to earn lots of money, I think you should study at university because it's the best way to earn the necessary skills. Furthermore, it's an opportunity to gain independence. Earn might be better translated as gain there, but it's the same word in Spanish regardless. And finally, using a rhetorical question to finish off. This is easy. You just learn it, you apply it, you use it the same way for any topic. ¿No estás de acuerdo? Which means, do you not agree? Okay, so there is a really good example answer, and now it's over to you. So as always, you can either leave this screen on, write your answer with the Spanish and the English steps in front of you to practice the language. Or if you want a challenge, go to this screen and you've only got the English in front of you and you need to remember the Spanish. Or if you want to do the challenge but you think I need a bit more practice first, you've got the Quizlet set in the description. Practice the Quizlet set, then come back to this screen and write your answer using these 7 steps. Please do feel free to write your answer in the comments, as some people have already been doing on previous videos, and I can give you some feedback on them. And yeah, that's it. We will be back tomorrow with our final video of this series, which is going to look at how you can proofread your work and avoid making silly mistakes or correct any silly mistakes you have made before you hand in your paper. So not specifically focused on what you're writing, it's more making sure that what you're handing in is actually your best work and you haven't let yourself down with any silly grammatical mistakes. They're really easy steps, so make sure you check that one out. That will be up tomorrow. Otherwise, good luck with the revision, good luck with physics, and I will see you tomorrow.